Have you ever thought you knew everything about your family? Thought you understood the secrets of your loved ones? Well, sometimes the truth is far darker and deeper than we could ever imagine. This is the story of my grandmother, a woman who seemed to have it all, a loving family, a peaceful life. But what we didn't know, what we couldn't have known, was that she harbored secrets so chilling, they were only revealed after her passing. You see, Grandma had a family before ours, 3 daughters we never met, and they were all hidden away, locked in a past she'd run from. It was only after her death, when I discovered an old letter written by one of those daughters, that the true horror of her life came to light. My grandmother, Mary, had 3 daughters before she met my grandfather, but we never knew about them. Not one person in the family ever mentioned these girls. They were nothing more than ghosts in the shadows, forgotten. For years, we believed Grandma's life began when she married Grandpa, but what we didn't know was that she had once been married to another man, a man with a violent temper, whose actions forced her to flee with her 3 daughters in tow. She had run away, leaving behind everything she once knew, starting anew under a different name in a small town far from her old life. The family disappeared into thin air, as if they had never existed. My grandmother never spoke of them, not to her friends, not to her new family. We thought she had simply started fresh, leaving her past behind. But that's not what happened. One day I came across something I never expected to find, a letter written in a delicate, unfamiliar handwriting. It was from one of her daughters, Mary. The letter was addressed to Dear Mary, my grandmother. But it was from one of her daughters, someone I didn't even know existed. The letter told the story of a life that was far darker than I could have imagined. It spoke of the abuse they had suffered at the hands of their father, of their escape. And then it mentioned something I couldn't understand. It said that Mary had promised to return for them, but she never did. As I read, the pieces began to fall into place. My grandmother had made a choice, a heartbreaking, terrible choice. She had left behind her daughters to escape the nightmare of her abusive marriage, but the letter spoke of something more, something disturbing. It said her daughters never forgave her for leaving, and worse, it hinted that her past had come back to haunt her. After my grandmother's passing, I found myself standing in her old house, feeling a strange presence I couldn't shake. The air was thick, heavy, with the weight of something unspoken. It was as if the walls themselves carried the echoes of the past, the memories of the family she had left behind. Strange things started happening in that house. Lights flickered, doors creaked open when no one was around. It felt as though something or someone was watching. I tried to ignore it, but the unease never left. That's when I started hearing whispers in the dark, whispers that seemed to call my name. And then, the dream started. I had a dream where I saw my grandmother standing in front of an old house. She was walking away, but behind her there were 3 shadowy figures. 3 young girls, their faces blank, their eyes lifeless. I couldn't see their faces clearly, but I knew they were her daughters. The dream was so vivid, so real, that I woke up in a cold sweat. That's when everything changed. One night in the dead of winter, I saw her, my grandmother. She stood at the foot of my bed, her form glowing faintly, almost transparent. Her eyes, those same eyes I had seen in the photos, locked onto mine. She whispered, "I'm sorry," and then she vanished. But the worst part? That's when I knew the truth. The daughters she had left behind, they were not gone. They were still out there, still angry, still haunting us. As I dug deeper into my grandmother's past, I discovered something I wasn't prepared for, a family grave. Her daughters' names were there, but there were no dates, just symbols. And when I looked closer, I saw something that made my blood run cold. The same symbols were in the letter, and they weren't just a reminder of the past. They were a warning. My grandmother's family, her daughters, never left. They were still here, watching, waiting. And the curse of the past would never let us go. Sometimes the things we leave behind are far more dangerous than we ever realize, and the family we think we know may not be the family we think at all. What's lurking in your family's past? You may never know until it's too late.